It is not the name of Brooks which makes the saddle good, but the saddle and its excellence which makes the name supreme. Leather, metal, and over a century of experience. At the world's oldest manufacturer, we're going to discover the secrets of how a leather saddle became a cult item and an icon of cycling. We're in Smethwick, in the suburbs of Birmingham in the West Midlands, close to where the business started in 1866. We asked Stephen Green what is known about Mr. Brooks, the founder of what used to be the largest saddle manufacturing company in the world, till the 1950s.
We recently received a letter from Mr. Brian Yates, the great-grandson of Mr. J.B. Brooks, and in this letter he explains the true history of the company. In 1866, J.B. Brooks moved from a small town in Leicestershire called Hinckley into Birmingham to set up a general leather trading company under the name J.B. Brooks & Co. The company was doing steady progress in these initial years, but in 1878 something happened that changed all of this. J.B. Brooks rode back and forth from his business on horseback, and in this year his horse died. He decided at the time he couldn't afford to buy a new horse, so instead a friend of his lent him a bicycle. This was the first experience he had of cycling, and he found the saddle on this seat so uncomfortable that he vowed from that day forward to do something about it. And the rest, as we say, is history.
Since the first patent on saddles was filed in 1882, many more have followed. But as early as the 1890s, the product was almost identical to today's saddle. Having already been featured in the late 1890s catalogues, the B17 is the oldest model in the current range. A total of about 20 models available in different finishes have lasted over the decades and are still manufactured as they've always been.
When I first joined the company 13 years ago, I took a walk around the factory and I thought, I've got to drag this company into the 20th century, let alone the 21st. But I realised after a few weeks that the traditional methods that we employ are just right for Brooks, and very little has changed.
Since we first began to make cycle saddles, our aim has been the best of everything. The best materials, the best designs, the best constructions that experience, skill and money can procure. Brooks saddles are still made exclusively of leather and metal. Big rolls of wire and strips of metal are shaped to make the different components of the structure. Metal parts in steel and titanium are in fact still fabricated in-house. Left springs are coming out of a 1954 German machine. Right springs are coming out of a 1949 British machine. A dozen other machines and presses cut, stamp, bend and shape all the other parts of the saddle frames in the Brooks time-honoured fashion. Welding is only needed on saddles with single rails and no suspension. Sprung saddles require more complex metal structures, with up to 20 components, which are all assembled by hand. For Brooks saddles, only the butt of a hide is employed. This is only the middle portion of the whole hide, and commands a much higher price. It is only by the use of such material, however, that the quality of Brooks saddles can be maintained.
Well, the leather we use needs to be 5mm thick. The cattle come from the UK. There are only 2 tanneries in Europe that are able to provide us with the finish we require. We would expect to get 10 tops out of one bend of leather. The back area of the leather, which tends to be stiffer, we would use for the racing saddles, and the belly area, which tends to be softer, we'd use for other models. Very little of the leather is wasted because we would also cut out the mud flaps and the washers for the handlebar grips, so hardly any is lost.
It takes about 3 days to make a Brooks saddle. Leather tops are put in to soak. These stay in the water for 1 hour, then they drip dry for a while. The first moulding process happens while they are still damp. The definitive shape is given by a press, but skillful hands complete the process. In order to retain the shape, the leather needs to be dried slowly and carefully. This takes place in 2 different ovens, where the tops remain for a couple of hours at varying temperatures.
As you can see, it's an old age tradition. This is a Brooks's. Like, you know, the trademark on every saddle we make. It's trademarked on each side, and also the nameplate on the back. It's an old age tradition. It's been going on for years and years and years. And I presume it will always be the same. It's the way it goes.
Warning: it is as well to be assured that the saddle you buy as a Brooks bears the name Brooks on the flaps and at the rear. It may save you considerable disappointment. Tops for the sports models are given a final touch with a chamfering knife. A mistake at this stage could ruin the top and make it useless. For this reason, this operation, called chamfering, is extremely critical.
It takes a bit of getting into, like, you know, after a while you get into it, and it can be difficult sometimes. You get a bit of, like, the leather does change, like, you know, you'll get a bit of nice soft leather, and then other times you get a bit of hard leather, and it's...
Indeed. The manufacture of Brooks saddles is in the hands of those who possess an unequalled experience in their work. Once all the work on the leather top is completed, it's ready to be attached to the back plate of the metal structure. This process is relatively simple with so-called tubular rivets.